It's that time of the week again. Let's see who makes my Game Week 25 Team of the Week. So first up, in goal, and there was a few options for this one, but one that I thought particularly stood out. Honourable mentions have to go to Vicario at Spurs, who I thought was fantastic coming back into the side, made a real difference to that back line, and they seem to have a bit more confidence with him back there. And Alisson Becker, again, who for me is the best goalkeeper in football at the moment, but makes a massive save with the game delicately poised, and a crucial win for Liverpool to keep them ahead in that title race. But I'm going to give it to Alex Palmer of Ipswich Town, who makes some unbelievable saves to keep Ipswich ahead in the game. 10-man Ipswich as well, by the way. He's just come into Ipswich from West Brom in the January transfer window. I think this was only his first or maybe his second appearance. You'll have to correct me, Ipswich fans. But very, very few appearances for the club. Comes in a big game at Villa Park, with the team struggling, really down there in the relegation battle, and pulls off some worldy saves. So really, really good for Ipswich to have a reliable keeper back there, you'd have to say. I don't think Walton or Muric have covered themselves in glory this season, made a couple of really big errors in big games as well. So hopefully Palmer can be that reliable pair of hands for him and maybe help them out of that relegation battle this season. Into defence, and I've got two Ipswich Town defenders, because going to Villa Park is tough enough, but going to Villa Park and having to play more than half the game with a man light, after Tuanzebe gets sent off in the first half, it meant that Dara O'Shea and Connor Townsend had to be at their absolute best. Connor Townsend in particular on that left-hand side, he had Doniel Marlin up against him, and then I think it was Marco Asensio in the second half came on, and he really held firm. He did really, really well. Also contributed going forward as well. But Ipswich were really resolute, and it was a really strong defensive performance from both of them. Dara O'Shea in the middle alongside Jacob Greaves. We'll need more of that from Ipswich if they're going to stay up this season. Alongside O'Shea at centre-back, I've gone for Brentford's Sepp Vandenberg, who put in a really stellar performance against West Ham. We saw the potential with Vandenberg at Liverpool. I mean, he had a great season on loan at Mainz in the Bundesliga, came back and left Liverpool to pursue first-team action. He's getting that now. He's getting those regular minutes at Brentford, and he deserves it. He's a very, very good young defender, and showing that in the performances that he put in this weekend. And completing the defence on the other side, playing ever so slightly out of position, I've got Fulham's Calvin Bassey, who gets the match winner against Nottingham Forest. Another huge result for Fulham. Back-to-back wins now. Nottingham Forest this week, Newcastle away last week, and that takes Fulham to within 4 points of Champions League football next season. Unbelievable from Marco Silva, and Calvin Bassey's been really critical to those defensive performances at Craven Cottage, and another good performance here, gets the match winner, definitely in the team of the week. Into midfield, and I've gone with another Fulham player, a player that's currently filling the João Palhinha-shaped hole in Marco Silva's midfield. It's Sasa Lukic, who for 10 million quid Fulham picked him up from Torino, and he was brilliant again this weekend. He's been very consistent, sitting in front of that Fulham defence, and this weekend he really needed to do well and track the runs of Morgan Gibbs-White running from deep as he does so well for Forest, and he was brilliant again. So instrumental in a big Fulham win, has to go into the team of the week for me. And alongside him in midfield, I've gone for Bournemouth's Ryan Christie, who, it's been well documented, hasn't it, in recent weeks and months, just how pivotal he is to Bournemouth's press, how much energy he brings, how successful he's been in that midfield for Bournemouth this season. And he's won possession more times than any other Premier League player this season per 90 minutes, which is an astonishing stat in and of itself. But this weekend he showed something that I've not seen too much from him in his Bournemouth career, and that's real quality on the ball. You wouldn't think, looking at the goal and the assist that he got this weekend, you wouldn't think he's only got 6 goals for Bournemouth in his career. It was an unbelievable assist for Dango Ouattara to open the scoring for Bournemouth and set them on their way, and then he gets a fantastic goal from outside the box himself, so absolutely had to be in the team of the week, and he's proven himself to be a vital cog in that Bournemouth midfield, and maybe, just maybe, a Champions League midfielder next season. And completing the midfield, I've gone for Everton's Carlos Charlie Alcaraz, who we've seen before in the Premier League, haven't we, for Southampton? And I always thought he was a neat and tidy player. Obviously, he got his move to Juventus, it didn't quite work out, and it's good to see him back in the Premier League because I think he's a player that will bring joy and frustration in equal measure. He's still only young, he's only 22, but he gets the goal and the assist this weekend to give Everton another surprise win against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Not an easy place to go, and the Moyes revolution continues. But Alcaraz is going to be central for Everton, I think, over the next couple of years. If he does get that permanent move to Goodison Park or to Bramley Moor, as it'll be, I think he'll be a fan favourite for Everton. He reminds me an awful lot, and this is going to be high praise, he reminds me an awful lot of the early days of Philippe Coutinho at Liverpool. He's still only 22. He's got a little bit of that about him, but he will give the ball away. If Everton fans are patient with him, I think he's someone that can produce those wow moments and stick it in the top corner from 30, 40 yards and take on players. He'll be a player that Evertonians will really get behind. So I think it's good to have players like that in the Premier League, a bit of South American flair. And let's see how he gets on. Now, onto the attack, and there was obviously some very big performances this weekend, so I've had to make some really big choices, some difficult choices, and leave a couple of players out. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you think I've got it right, if I've got it massively wrong, let me know. By the way, if you're new here, it really, really helps if you give the video a like, if you can subscribe. If you can't, it's no problem at all. I really just appreciate you watching, but it really does help the channel, and I massively appreciate it. If you're a football dad, football nerd like me, and you enjoy the Premier League, give us a like. So first up, on that right-hand side, I had a very difficult call to make, and it was a straight choice between Mohamed Salah, who gets the match winner for Liverpool in a tough, gritty performance against Wolves, also creates the first. But we're almost used to that with Mohamed Salah, aren't we? He's having the season of his life, the season of his career, maybe the best ever individual season in Premier League history. He's certainly on course for that with the numbers. And for that reason, he doesn't make my team of the week because we're so used to it with him. He may get into it in future, I'm sure he will. But I've gone with Ethan Nwaneri, who it's much harder, I think, to come into a team that's not playing particularly well in attack. And Arsenal didn't play very well at all against Leicester. They were really poor. Obviously, that's largely down to the fact that they were without their first choice front three. But to come into an attack that's kind of out of sorts and not really pulling up trees, and do that as a 17-year-old kid, that's different class. He was Arsenal's biggest threat all day, hit the post a couple of times, and then creates the opener for Mikel Merino. The cross to Mikel Merino was different gravy. Absolutely brilliant. He fully deserves to be in the team of the week for me. You know, whatever happens between now and the end of the season, he's going to be a very important player for Arsenal in the Champions League running, and certainly in the Premier League title running. I think he might not contribute the assists and the goals that Bukayo Saka might have done, but he's certainly going to be an important part, and he was brilliant against Leicester. A decisive performance from him, from a young lad in a team that's struggling. Definitely deserves to be in the team of the week. On the other side, it's a much easier decision to make. I've gone for Manchester City's Egyptian prince, Omar Marmoush, who gets a hat-trick against Newcastle, and he was phenomenal, wasn't he? Just buzzing away along that front line behind Erling Haaland, and the quality of goal was stark as well. I thought the lob for the first one was brilliant. The way he cut in on his right for the second, and then just arriving late in the box for the third. Absolutely brilliant. First half hat-trick, and he's going to be sensational, I think, for between now and the end of the season for City. I was gutted, to be honest, that he didn't come to Liverpool. I was really hoping we'd get him, but I think he'll be a phenomenal signing for City. And yeah, fantastic performance. Definitely deserves to be in the team of the week. And rounding off the team of the week is a player I never, ever in a million years thought would make it. It's Beto from Everton, who, what a turnaround. Since David Moyes has come in, he looks not just a competent Premier League striker, but looks like he can be a real handful. You know, he's obviously a big lad, but he's not just being a nuisance to those centre-backs in terms of using his frame and his strength. He's also going in behind and using his pace as well. He reminds me a lot of what Jean-Philippe Mateta's doing for Crystal Palace. And Beto now has got 5 in his last 6 starts for Everton. He's really turned it around since David Moyes has come in. And I think he could be a really decent Premier League striker for Everton if he sticks around. You know, there was rumours about him leaving in January. Looks maybe like he might stick around even longer, maybe still be here next season. We never know. But he went from being a player who was lambasted by large cross-sections of the Everton fan base as just not quite good enough. You know, he was always honest and worked hard, But now he's putting in the goals and the performances with it. So it'd be really interesting to see how he kicks on. I think he's a good, solid Premier League striker and an honest one as well. So I like Beto. He's starting to be a really likeable player, and I think he deserves his place in the team of the week because he's finding goals as well as those performances. So good to see him in there. And that rounds off my Game Week 25 team of the week. Let me know in the comments what your team of the week was. Let me know if you think I got any particularly wrong. And as always, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.